Hello, I am Julia Schenk, and I am interviewing Petty Officer 2nd Class AnnMarie Walker on behalf of the Veterans History Project for Prince George's Community College, in cooperation with the Office of Congresswoman Donna L. Edwards and the Library of Congress. Today's date is September 26, 2014. We are located in the television studios of Prince George's Community College in Largo, Maryland. Included in the room is myself, Ms. Walker, and the camera operators, Donna Stevens, Damian Maynard, and Zachary Goldsmith. This project is being coordinated by Professors Teresa Dow-Vest, Lewis Roden, and Dr. Sherelle Williams. The purpose of this interview is to gain insight into the life of United States military veterans currently residing in the state of Maryland. We'd like to thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Walker.
You're welcome.
Let's, if we can start things off by giving us a little bit about your background. Can you give us your date of birth, please?
February 7th, 1969.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Okay, were you born and raised there?
I was born and raised there.
Can you tell us a little bit about what life was like growing up for you?
Life was like growing up for me. It was fun.
Fun.
We, as you know, in the islands,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we do everything outdoors most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up on the islands, you run around, you play barefoot outside, you know, go to school. You still got school, Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And 8. School for me was in the same neighborhood where I live. Where I live, I could stay on my veranda and see my school.
Mm-hmm.
So I know to be in school on time, I can run down the hill by the time the bell is ring. So
Yeah, I know
that was good.
I know that was very beneficial for you.
Yeah,
I
so-
wish I had that luxury growing up.
you know, you have to be on your P's and Q's because everybody in the neighborhood, they know my dad.
Oh,
so
of course. Okay.
they know my whole family.
Oh.
In our community, is like everybody knows my family. So
Okay.
you have to be on your P's and Q's.
Mm-hmm, definitely. What is it that your father is well known for in the community?
My dad, he loves to cook and he plays music. He was a DJ, so the community knows him for that. He was a good baker. Everyone likes his cornmeal pudding.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can
Yes.
honestly see why that would definitely lead to his popularity, music, and good food.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. Send people come running.
Oh, yes.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of kid you were growing up? Like, were you the rough and tough kind
I was the quiet kid because I'm an observer. I like to observe. So I was the quiet kid growing up.
So it's even in school?
Even in school, I was the quiet kid, but don't mess with me, don't get me mad, because then I'm the rough and tough kid after that.
Okay.
But basically, I was quiet.
So it's fair to say you were quiet, but you also had a short fuse.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us about some of your best friends growing up? Did you have a few you want to?
I have a few best friends. One of my best friends, she is now in Canada.
Okay.
We live in the same area.
Now?
And
Or you
no, she's living in Canada.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So we have lost contact over the years, but she was my best friend growing up from primary school up.
Do you have any fond memories you shared with her growing up?
Well, growing up in Jamaica, you know, it's running around, going to each other's yard, you know, being able to, you know, enjoy the outside. So we're always there. She goes to a different school than I did. So our meeting time was on the way from school. Then we'll meet up and we'll stop and play. We call it dandy shandy, which here they call it kickball or, you know, jump rope. Those were the stuff that we like to do.
Okay. So can you care to talk about growing up in Jamaica? Like what part, what was some of the fun activities you enjoyed in Jamaica?
Fun activities as a youngster or a teenager?
Just growing up in general. Maybe some things you did as a kid and still enjoy to the day of your teenage years.
Well, a lot of things I did when as a teenager, I don't do it here anymore because we do most of the stuff outside, like kickball. We make We play, it's called Dandy Shandy, which is a game where there's one individual at this end, another at the other end, and we throw the ball back and forth. The person that's in the middle trying not to get hit. So now I think you probably call it kickball because you have the big ball where you throw it at each other. So that was one of our fun game. Hula hoop. I can't do it now, but back then I could do it from the head down to the waist, down to the feet. But now I don't even think I could hula hoop. So, jump rope. Tried that once. Broke my ankle doing that. Since I got older, So a lot of stuff that I used to do when I was younger, I don't think I want to try it now. So
understandable, completely understandable. So you had a pretty nice
I had a fun childhood. Yes.
That's good. That's good to know. Where did you attend high school?
I started high school in Jamaica. I went to Mount Vernon High School, and in 1985, I left Mount Vernon, and then I came to New York.
Oh, New York?
Yes. So I went to George Wingate High School in New York for 2 years.
Okay, so.
Well, when I came to the States, because of the educational system, I left Jamaica in the 10th grade, so I was put back to the 7th grade here in America. And then because my records didn't come to me, with me when I was coming up, I had to wait until it comes. Once my record got here, I was able to skip grade. So I skipped from the 7th grade all the way up to the 11th grade and got all credit except for religious education because I went to a Catholic high school in Jamaica. And in high school here, they don't teach religious education. So that was the only class that I couldn't get credit for. And because I got all the credits, I was able to skip grades and able to graduate within 2 years.
Okay. So you talked about coming from Jamaica from high school in 10th grade to coming to school in New York. And you also mentioned that you were rather reserved growing up. Would it be safe to say that maybe a little bit of a culture shock may have been an influence on it? I mean, were you still reserved when you
I was still reserved, and yes, it's safe to say that there was a big culture shock because in school in Jamaica, once you get to your classroom, you sit, you're at your desk, you don't speak until the teacher speaks to you. If you have a question, you raise your hand. When I first came to America and I went to school that first day, everyone was running around the hallways. You get into your class, all the kids were sitting on the desk talking. So that was a major culture shock for me. And for me, I just did my usual routine. I get my desk, sit, do my work, and because of that, I was actually picked on in high school because they think that I was trying to show off because I would do my work, get it done, and just be like, could y'all please at least listen to the teacher? Because every time somebody raised their hand, I don't understand. So I'm like, would you listen? If you listen, then you would understand. So a lot of the guys and some of the girls think that I was like a goody two-shoe trying to suck up to the teacher. So.
But it was just based off of what
it was just based off my younger learning. It's an innate thing. You know, once you're trained a certain way, it's hard to overlook it. I love school in Jamaica. It was a day that no matter what's going on, I want to be in school. But when I came to America, I was like, oh, Lord, do I have to go back to that class again? So my mentality or my thinking about school tend to change, but the discipline was still there.
Okay, of course, yeah. So in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
I love math.
Math?
Yes.
Is there a particular reason you took an interest in math?
Well, I had to take it back from when I was growing up in Jamaica. Growing up, we see the different occupations. And the ladies that worked at the bank used to be the ladies that were the high class, dressy ones. So I said, I want to be them.
So
I want to be the teller.
Yeah.
But then, I started learning that there are higher levels above the tellers. So learning accounting and maths, that was my main focus.
Okay.
So
I see. You were associated with math to the social class of the tellers, and they've garnered so much respect and earned so much praise that.
Right. So you want to fit in. So and maths was part of the business curriculum. So, and I enjoy it because solving problems, analyzing stuff, that was one of my things.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that very much. Did you attend college?
Yes.
You did? Where did you study in?
I started 1 year in Baruch College in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's when I joined the military.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finished at UDC,
You finished
University of the District of Columbia.
your
at
4-year degree
4-year degrees in accounting.
in accounting?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, good, good. If you could study, if you had the option to study another major, what would you think that would be?
Psychology.
Psychology?
Mhm.
Is there a particular reason behind that?
Because I love the workings of the mind, and I love to observe people and to see how they interact with their environment.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before, I'm quiet, but I'm an observer.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so that that can definitely be closely related to psychology, where
Yes.
you observe human behavior.
Yes.
It's the study of human behavior. So let's talk a little bit about your parents. And we mentioned your dad
My dad.
already, who's a DJ and
Who was who's
cook.
deceased?
Who's deceased? Oh, I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
No problem.
So sorry for that. What did your mother do for a living?
My mom, she's a elderly caretaker. She
Oh.
does home care, nursing.
Okay, okay. Are you an only child? Did you have siblings?
Now I have 4 sisters and 1 brother.
4 sisters. So you're the middle?
I'm
Or-
the oldest.
Oh,
of
you're the
6.
oldest
Yes.
of 6.
Mhm.
You care to mention their names?
I'm the oldest. My name is AnnMarie,
AnnMarie.
as you know.
Yeah.
Then my next sister is Rosemary,
Rosemary,
and we have a Melrose.
Melrose,
My brother is Christopher,
Christopher.
and my next sister is Tisha Marie,
Mm-hmm.
and then my youngest sister is Nisha.
Okay. So, growing up, can you tell us a little bit about life growing up with your siblings as the oldest? I know that there may be a certain expectation of being the eldest in your family. Was there any things like that?
Being the eldest, you would think that it would bring a lot of responsibility, but growing up in Jamaica, we all get to share the responsibility
Oh.
of whatever is going down.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our different assignments or duties that we have to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm the one who have to set an example. But because I was quiet, I'm always the one in the back. So my sister, who is the third one, she was the vocal one. So everyone knows her. She's the one that gets in trouble. So it's like, why can't you be like Marie? So it was like that. But even though being the eldest, there wasn't no great responsibility on me.
Okay.
It allowed me to do certain stuff before they do it. But apart from that, everyone is just equal. Yes.
I understand why your middle sister was loud and vocal a lot, because they said psychologically speaking, the middle
middle
child
one
tends
always
to be
want the attention.
tends to
Mhm.
be the most
Oh, and she
neglected.
gets the attention.
she
She
earns
does.
that. She gets that
Mhm,
attention.
She gets the attention. Yes.
So altogether, like, what would you say? Would you have any fond family memories that you shared that just stuck with you till today, or experiences?
Fun family is my family. We're always together, no matter how far apart we are. When we come together, we're together. There's jokesters. We tell stories about each other. So our fun family memories, just whenever we're able to all get together, is the story times. Because my mom has a lot of story about everything that we do. So the story times about when I fall down, or when my dad was spanking us, or
Had to give you
when my brother was trying to play and my other sister threw her off the veranda. So it's just story time, retelling stories. Those are the memories that we always share whenever we come together, and it's always fun.
Okay. Now, when you talked about moving to New York, were you the only one that left for New York, or
I was the first one that left for New York in 1995, along with my mom.
Oh, okay. So you and your mom. Okay.
1985.
Okay. So let's talk about how much of a change you experienced when you were about to enlist after you graduated college, of course.
Well, actually, I enlisted my first year after in college.
Oh,
After I finished my first semester in college, that's when I enlisted. A friend of mine, we were talking, and she said, I just signed up. And I'm like, signed up for what? And she said, I just signed up for the Navy. And I was like, okay, so what are you going to do? And she's like, well, I'm going to go to basic training and then I'm going to do this. Like, what are you going to do? She said, I don't know yet. So I said, okay. So she says, I'm going to the recruiter office. Do you want to come? So I went with her. And then we talked to the recruiter and he was telling me about all the different stuff you can do, all the traveling you can get, join the Navy, great adventure, see the world. Yeah. So I was like, huh. I was kind of getting bored for a minute. I was like, you know, having a little conflict at home with my grandmother because I was staying with my grandmother.
While you were in New York?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I tell folks, they're like, why did you join the military? I said, because I wanted to run away from home. And that seems to be the best way to run away from home. Because I get the training and I get paid. So why not? So that's when I signed up.
Okay. Can you talk about a little bit about how your family felt about this decision? Or did they support you? Or were they?
My mom supported me. She's like, you sure that's what you want to do? Because they were, you know, their thing is you're going to go fight war. What if there's a war? And I'm like, I'm joining the Navy Reserves because that's when I signed up. And I explained that I'll be going to training, but eventually I'll be home. So I'll be home and training at the same time. So that's what happened. So once I finished boot camp, then I get my duty station. My duty station is in the same area where I live. So I get to go to training on the weekends, and I'm still home. So she was okay with that.
Okay. Now, after you enlisted, do you remember any particular advice or a conversation you had with your family about your enlisting? Was there any advice they gave you or a particular discussion you had that stuck with you?
Well, I had a cousin that was in the Air Force, and he's been in for a while, and we had talked, and he's like, just enjoy it, you know. One of the things that they talked about was boot camp, like, oh, you're so quiet, how are you going to be around so many ladies, especially in the same room? Because, you know, there's a thing like girls always be fighting. I was like, I'll be okay. So my mom just like, just be yourself. Because she knows I'm quiet, I'm always observing, and she knows I like the learning aspect of life. So she just like, just be yourself. And that's what I always try to do, just be myself. And, you know.
That's really, really helpful advice, really. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit of the early days of your service. You mentioned signing up right after your first semester at college. How old were you at that time?
I was 18, going on 19 years old.
Oh, okay, so you were just becoming an adult.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned you served under which branch? Navy
Reserve.
Navy Reserve. Did you want that particular branch? I know they sold you on the sail the world and experience life. Is that the particular branch you?
Well, at the time, yes. But once I learned about all the other branches, the Air Force was another one that I think that I would have been interested in joining if I didn't join the Navy.
Oh, really? Is there? Oh, is it because of your cousin?
Oh, no, not because of my cousin. After the Air Force and learning about it, and even during all the trainings that we go through, I think they live a much plusher life than the other branches. So that would have been a choice.
Okay. Can you mention where you were trained?
My basic training was in Orlando, Florida. And then for my rating training, which is a hospital corpsman, I did it in Chicago.
Okay. How long did that training period last?
Basic was from December to February, so that was like, what, 3 months? And then our rating training was another 6 to 8 months. Yep. So I did the cold weather. It was warm in Orlando, Florida. After graduation in February, went to Chicago, and it was freezing. Okay. So
I know.
It's jumping from the heat into the fridge, so you know how that is.
Okay, all right. So the first day you arrived after the completion of your training, can you talk about a little bit of your experiences, the new recruiting on base, or
the first day after basic training?
Yeah, like the first time you stepped on your location for
Okay.
Yeah.
So after basic training, and then we were sent to Chicago, Great Lakes, to a hospital corps school. So once we were picked up from the airport and we were taken to the base, we were assigned a unit and then, or chief, and from there, everything is structured. So we had to pack up all our civilian clothes, make sure that those were packed away, and we got our uniform once we got assigned. And we were on that base until we get permission to leave that base.
Okay. All right. How was training for you? Did you find it easy? I mean, I know you were working with a particular interest with your
Training for me was not bad. In reference to boot camp was good because we learned that for me it was like a mind game. You know, you do what you were told to do, even though you don't feel like doing it. You know, you observe others, you go to the classes, because even in boot camp, we do have a routine that we have to follow. So you go to your classes, and if there's something that you're not good in, they're willing to give you remedial training. So they do that. So a lot of people wonder, okay, you're from the islands, you have beaches, so, and you joined the Navy, but you don't swim a lot. So that was one of my class that I had to take, swimming. So, but I say, I'm fine. I can survive in the water. I learned how to survive in the water. That's fine. So I do that. That was a fun thing because it gets me out of some of the barracks work that we had to do.
Okay.
So in Chicago, once we are assigned our class, we get to meet everyone that's inside the class. For me, because back then my accent was much thicker than it was, and a lot of individuals didn't really understand me. So I had to keep repeating myself. And that kind of got frustrated. So
yeah, I can understand.
And some of the ladies, there was a conflict because one of the things that came up front was the racial thing, the black versus white. And some of them couldn't understand why I talked to the white girls and the black girls instead of just sticking with the black girls. And my thing was, I'm from Jamaica. We talk to everybody.
Yeah, so there's no kind
there's
of
no
racial,
kind of racial. It's not you're black, so I'm staying with you, or you're white, I'm staying with you. No, it's I'll talk to everybody. So that was one of the conflict that I had in my unit. Is, you know, why aren't you sticking with the black? Why are you still mingling with the white? So, and I had to get comfortable with that because that was something that I didn't grow up with in the forefront of the racial discomfort. Yes, we have it in Jamaica where the dark-skinned girls get looked down on. The darker you are, you get looked down on. You know, the light-skinned girls are different. But the black and white thing, it wasn't really a big thing when I was growing up. So that was one of the things that I had to learn to deal with, you know, in the military.
Okay. All right. I know you mentioned that could be very, very frustrating.
Oh, yeah, it can be very frustrating because you become friend with someone and because they're white, then you have to think, okay, should I not be friend with her? And to tell you, one of my best friend in boot camp and corps school was a white girl. And we get along more than I did with the black individuals in my group. So that was something that I had to learn to cope with.
Okay. Did you have a favorite part of your training? I know you mentioned swimming, you enjoyed that. Was that your favorite part?
No, well, one of the favorite parts for me in boot camp was the drill team. I learned how to do the rifle. So I was part of the drill team because during work week, we are assigned different areas that we would work for a week. And luckily for me, I didn't get assigned to the cafeteria. I got assigned to the drill team. So I learned how to do parades and how to do performance with the rifles and the flags.
Okay. Now, do you want to mention a least favorite part of your training or something you had difficult with?
Least favorite part, I don't think anyone likes it, was the push-ups. And we have, during basic training, we have this thing they call the gravel. So whenever we get into trouble, they would march us out there and we would have to do push-ups on the gravel, which is like a tar area with no smoothing. So when you look at your hands sometimes, so
And I bet-
that was one of my least favorite things. So we try to keep ourselves in order so our unit don't get sent out to the gravel, so we won't have to do the push-ups. So, but push-ups in the gravel was my least favorite thing. I love the run-in and stuff because we have to run. It's the training that you do.
Yeah.
And further down, when I joined the unit, that was a Fleet Hospital unit, we had to train with a full backpack and full camis and everything. So the 1.5 mile run in full gear was not one of my favorite either.
Yeah, I bet the sun didn't help out with those push-ups on the gravel. When it was
No, in Florida, no.
In Florida, it's almost always sunny.
No, but
there.
you have different favorite stuff because in the Fleet Hospital, one of the things that we learn to do is to actually erect a full hospital, working hospital, out in the field. So that was one of our training, and I enjoy learning how to do that because we have to, if you're called, like for instance, during Desert Storm, when the units were called, the units that we were a part of were the ones that erect the hospitals.
Okay. All right. Did you have during this time? Did you have like a memorable instructor that you spent a significant amount of time with, or one
Well,
who
during course
took
school,
it?
we had our chief, and he was the one that trained us. But favorite, not really. I didn't have a favorite instructors. All instructors, they impart different stuff towards us. But one of the things that they always tell us is just to do your best. Be you and just try to be the best that you can be.
Okay. Okay. How well did you adapt to the military lifestyle, the food, the social life, the living arrangements?
Adaptation to military life was not too hard for me, and because after boot camp and after hospital course school training, I actually went home. So it was not that I have to move to a whole new state where I have to learn how to adapt with a whole lot of different individuals. Some of the individuals I met, we all separated after course school, and I went to my state, joined my unit. So the adaptation was not bad because I was able to be home and still work in the military at the same time. So that was good compared to those who were fully active duty and had to go to a new duty station and learn to deal with others.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about. Let's dive into the actual your main area of service. Where were you serving after your?
My main area of service, we started when Desert Storm started in 1990, and my unit was activated from New York up to Bethesda. So we were activated to the hospital. So that's where my main area of service is, at the Naval Hospital in Bethesda.
What was your position you served?
Even though I was in hospital corpsman, my first couple of months there, that's when I get to work in the galley. Because since the hospital was associated with the naval ships, most of the enlisted from the ships were transferred, from the hospital were transferred to the ships. So most of the reservists were brought in to cover all those areas. And one of the areas that lost a lot of individuals was the galley area, which is the cooking area. So I get to work in that area. And what we do in that area, because it's a hospital, we had to prepare the meals for all the enlisted officers and all the military personnel. But we also have to prepare the meals for those in the hospital. So that's one of the area that I worked at while I was activated.
Okay.
And then after a couple months of that, I started working in the cardiology clinic. And that's where I started learning about the heart more in depth into what my hospital corpsman rating teaches me to do.
Okay. So you mentioned preparation of the food and everything. What were some of your other duties you were required to do?
Well, in the military, you're always assigned an area to work in, but then you also have extra duty. So some of the duties that I had to do was probably guard duty, where we, in the evenings or for a couple hours, we had to stand guard either at the front desk So we welcome folks in. We do what's called a Quarterdeck Watch, where we had to make sure that everything was secure and stuff. So those are some of the duties that I had to do.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit about the stress that followed some of those duties, maybe guard
The
duty?
stress, like working in the galley, you have to be up early in the morning. So when everyone is sleeping, like at 4 o'clock, you're up, and then you have to get everything together, prepare all the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so by 8 o'clock, when everyone is just coming in, you're already half your day through,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of stressful. And even doing the quarterdeck, if you're lucky enough to catch the early duty, then you're good. You won't have all the stress.
Mm-hmm.
But if you catch the midnight or that early morning shift,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll have the stress, because then there'll be some calls coming in for, someone drunken behavior, someone in the barracks is making too much noise, so you'll have to go and check that out, or you'll have to get somebody. So it's the stress of, always trying to be alert and not, trying to fall asleep, depends on the time of day that your duty is. So.
Okay. You mentioned being on guard duty. Did you receive weapons training?
Well, on quarterdeck duty, I didn't carry a weapon.
Oh,
I always have a security officer with me. But for the military on a whole, we do receive weapons training, which was not one of my fun training. So, because I'm kind of skittish when it comes to weapons. So, but we do receive the basic weapons training in the military.
Okay. Did you have a favorite part you enjoyed particularly?
No.
No.
For weapons training, no. They tell me I need to learn it, so I learn it,
Mm-hmm.
pass the class, and that was that. I did try to do the marksmanship training, but nah, I was too nervous when it comes to weapon.
Okay. Do you have any memories during your stay at the fond memories of this time period that stuck with you the most, or any experiences that really just stuck out to you the most, or?
Well, one thing I can say that stuck out to me the most is, for the military, is you don't learn your job, just your job.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever area that you're in, you learn an aspect of everyone's job.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, even though I may be assigned to the front desk,
Mm-hmm.
I don't just know the procedures of the front desk of a clinic. I know everything that goes on within it. So the one good thing is that I learn everybody's job.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that stuck out with me, is that I'm not, I could say, pigeonholed to just learning one thing. You're able to learn and experience other things.
Okay. Were you exposed to any casualties, or any? There weren't any instances.
Well,
where,
for me personally,
yeah.
no. But being a hospital corpsman, we see all the casualties that comes into the hospital, and being assigned to certain wards that takes in those casualties, we were able to care for those individuals that comes in with a limb missing or a leg missing or just something wrong with them. So being a hospital corpsman, that was my job, to take care of those that were on the front line that comes in with injuries.
Okay, so if we can expand upon the casualties, were you affected emotionally or psychologically, but with the experience of seeing it? Or?
Well, no matter what, whether in the military and civilian world, when someone gets shot, there's an emotional pull. But when you have to personally take care of them, and being a hospital corpsman and a nurse's assistant, you try to close down that emotional part of you, because you want to give them the best care that you can give them without them seeing how emotional you are. But taking care of a young 18 or 19-year-old guy with a limb missing is very emotional. So you have to kind of suppress that part of you for the time being. But sometimes when you're alone, you think about it, because you're thinking that could have been you. What if it was me that was, instead of being at the hospital, being on the shore, what if I was the one that was out front? Would I be able to, cope with losing a leg or losing an arm? So it gets very emotional for the nurses and the doctors and the corpsmen that has to take care of those individuals, because we have to be strong when we're taking care of them. We can't let them see that emotion that is boiling up in us while we're taking care of them, because they are trying to be strong, because they know that, all this is wrong with them. How are they going to cope? How are their families? Because some of them will talk about they don't know how their families will cope with it. If they don't have any family, how will they cope being by themselves? Yes, there are avenues that will take care of them, but for the time being, you're their caretaker. So being there, the emotional is very strong, especially when you get off duty for that day and you get to your room and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I just had to take him to the bathroom. I can't believe I just had to, clean his sores, So that emotion is always there, but you have to suppress it sometimes. But it gets to you. A lot of folks talk about PTSD in just the warriors, but sometimes they're the caretakers that have that PTSD, but no one really talks about it. Those caretakers never really talk about it.
So what would you do with that emotion? Did it...
For me,
personally,
I'm a crybaby, so crying for me, and because I'm quiet, I don't let out a lot of my emotions. So when I'm alone, I would cry. I'm not one to go and talk about it, because sometimes when you go and talk about certain stuff, they give you a label. And we don't like labels. Well, I don't like labels, because they give you a label and they put a label on what's going on with you. And some individuals, they don't talk about it. So we might meet up with friends and, you go out to have a drink, or even though I don't drink, they drink. I don't drink. I don't really drink. And some of them handle it differently by drinking, because they think that the drinking will suppress that emotion. But
you were just never stuck,
Yeah. And some folks just keep it internal and don't really talk about it.
And bottled up.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it's fair to say you achieved personal growth during this.
I did, because I learned to grow within myself and not let what I see or what I experience keep me down, even though sometimes you will do a replay of what goes on with you, because there are a lot of stuff that goes on that individuals don't talk about. A lot of individuals, or for instance, ladies, there are a lot of stuff that happened to us that we don't talk about. Some individuals would start talking about it, but others, they would keep it bottled up and don't talk about it and don't share it much. Once that instance is over and they put you through what they're going to put you through, you don't talk about it.
So let's talk a little bit about the friendships you formed over your service. Do you still keep in touch with some of them?
I have a friend that when we were stationed up in Bethesda, I've lost track of her in the last couple of years, but she was the one that we would call and talk to. So every once in a while we would remember each other, or we would run into each other in the supermarket and stuff, and then we get reconnected. But being a reservist and not being in the same area with the same individuals from different units, sometimes it's hard to kindle that friendship. But every once in a while somebody will send me a text or an email and say, how you doing? Or I'll answer them back. So it's good sometimes to reach out and rekindle with friends.
And just catch up.
Just catch up.
See how one's doing.
Oh yeah, so it's like you're picking up from where you left off the last time you talk. Like, okay, so hi, how are the kids? Okay, did you have any kids? Stuff like that.
Okay. When you were in the reserve, how would you spend your off-duty time? Would you do recreational activities?
My reserves, off-duty time.
Yeah, like time.
For me, off-duty time for the reserve is regular 9 to 5, because I'm a reservist and I'm also a full-time employee. So I'm doing both at the same time. So that's my off-duty time from not being drilling or being trained at any training. I'm working full time. I'm a full time accountant
Mm-hmm.
in the federal government, so I do both jobs. I used to do both jobs until 2009 when I retired from the military.
Oh, okay. Okay. Were you able to communicate with your friends and family back in Jamaica and New York during your stay?
Oh yes, we were able to communicate with them.
How? Through email or phone calls?
Phone calls. hmm
Did you tell them about your experiences in the military?
Some of the experience, I talk to them about it. Some of it, I don't talk to them about it because it's emotional and they wouldn't understand, and they would wonder why you stick it out that long. Why didn't you just quit? But you share some experience, but there's some experience that you really don't want to share with others.
Okay. So you mentioned only sharing some of them, and you were scared of the reactions. For some of the experience you did tell them, how
You tell them about the good things that
Oh,
happened.
so they will automatically give you
They're
praise.
right. You tell them about the good things that happen, but some of the bad things that happen, you just don't want to tell them about
Yeah,
it.
of course. Okay. So during your communication with your friends and family, did you experience homesickness?
When I first joined the military, yes, I did. But because I'm a reservist, I get to go home.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an issue. And once my unit was activated and we were stationed in Bethesda, New York was only a train ride away. So whenever I'm not on duty and I got permission where I could leave the base, I was on Amtrak heading up to New York. 95 was my favorite way to travel.
Okay. Okay. What was the main thing that you missed from being home? Like, is there something you definitely missed during your stay on base that just drove you insane?
When I was staying on base every day, just missing talking to my mom, the face-to-face conversation with her. But apart from that, because I'm so close and I'm not overseas, I'm able to just pick up the phone anytime I want to call them. So it wasn't like it was a great, separation between me and them. Since I'm here in the States, that was better for me because then I can call them anytime I want. So, or just when things are going bad, just to pick up the phone and just say hi. And that would kind of calm the nerves. So it was good for me to be able to have a quick way of communicating with them.
Okay. Is there one specific memory that has stuck out during your experience at the Navy Reserve that stuck with you to this day even?
Well, I could look at it as a good memory or a bad memory. But as I said, there's memories that I'd never shared with a lot of folks that still stays with me.
Of course.
But the good memories that stick with me is the camaraderie between myself and my unit members. Because there are still unit members that we, right now I'm following one of my unit member on Tango, and we communicate. So it's just a friendship, the friendship of meeting someone and getting to know them. Because each time you go to a different base, you meet different people. So you're able to experience the different life on the different bases. So that's a good thing.
Okay. Okay. Are you willing to share one of the most difficult memories at all?
I can share it. I don't talk about it a lot, but my family knows about it. And it's one of the area where, for me, I was attacked in my room.
Oh, really?
Because we have roommates, and my roommate, unbeknown to me, had lost her key. And someone had come into my room, and I was attacked in my room. So that was one of the difficult memories that my family knows about it, but I don't talk about it a lot. Because sometimes when you talk about stuff that happens to you, they tend to want to put it under the rug. So that's one thing that I don't tell a lot of folks about, but a lot of people need to hear it, and some of the stuff that happens to us, we don't talk about it, but sometimes I guess we need to at least start putting it out front that things do happen to us, whether it's a guy or a girl. It does happen, and we have no control over it. But the aftermath of it is either blame the victim, or the victim just decided they don't want to talk about it because they don't think there's anything that's going to come of it. So we just keep quiet about it. So that's just one of the things that I really don't talk too much about.
I'm so sorry you experienced that. So let's talk about toward the end of your stay or service. You said you ended your service in 2009?
2009.
2009. Okay. Where were you last located? Like,
my unit was last located at Andrews Air Force Base.
Oh, Andrews Air Force Base. Can you mention some of the places you may have visited during your stay?
Well, I got a chance to visit Puerto Rico, to work in Puerto Rico for a couple of months. And I also got a chance to work in Spain for a couple of months, and all those were at the hospitals that were there.
Okay. Did you have a favorite location?
I actually like Spain because
Really?
I like that siesta hour that they have where, we have a break after lunch. So, but it was fun. It was fun getting to go to Europe, and just Spain was fun because the folks there, they're so nice and it's so relaxing. It's not a hurry atmosphere there. So it was a fun place. I like that.
Okay. You didn't have a lease, did you? A least favorite?
No, everywhere I've been since joining the military was pretty good.
That's fun. Good. I'm really happy for that. So let's talk about your return home. Is it safe to assume you flew home from wherever you were located to Jamaica or New York?
Since I'm in the reserve, I'm always back and forth between home and wherever my training base is. So the return home for me was never a difficult thing. So
there was nothing special after you retired in 2009 to come
no,
home? No,
nothing special, because I was right here at home. As I said, being in the reserve, I was doing my full-time job and doing military at the same time. So it's just taking off the accountant hat and putting on the corpsman hat. So.
Were your friends and family were happy after?
Oh yeah, they were pretty good.
Instead, did you have any parties?
No, I didn't have a big party, because it's just like a routine. It's just like, okay, I don't have to go to that job every month. So the transition was good. I do miss it sometimes because I do miss, working in the hospital. So, and I do miss some of the unit members that I used to associate with, but.
Okay. Can you talk about your life after the military? How you're going? How you doing?
Life after military is pretty good. The one good thing is I still get to interact with military personnel, being that I work in an environment that caters for the military personnel. So I still get to interact with them. I'm able to get my service done on the military base. So life after the military, I would say it's only for me is not going to put on the uniform every day. That's just basically the difference, since I was so used to doing both of them at the same time, my civilian job and my military job. So just not able to put on the uniform every weekend to go drill, that's just one of the changes. But life after is just rolling along the same like it always does.
Okay. So let's dive into the reflections that you've taken away. How do you feel that your service has affected your life? I know you talked about the casualties and everything, but how do you feel it's helped you as a person?
Well, it helped me as a person to know that I was able to serve my country in the aspect that I did. It also helps me to give me a discipline within myself. Because in the military, you have to be disciplined, attention to detail. There's certain orders to stuff. There's certain ranking that you have to follow. So you use that throughout life, You can't just go through life head on. You have to be able to stand back and analyze stuff, because through life, others are going to be dependent on you. And if you don't analyze your decision, then somebody might get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So being in the military, that teaches you, because one of my job as a corpsman was to administer medication.
Mm-hmm.
And administering medication, there's a detailed order that you have to follow, because if you don't get it right, someone could get hurt. So you use that throughout your life. There's always a detailed order that you have to follow. So if you don't do it, someone else will have to come behind you to do it right. So why not just do it right, you know? But in the same sense is, don't take life or yourself so seriously. Sometimes you have to enjoy it, even with all the chaos and everything that's going on around you. You know, something happened, but life goes on. So, you know, it's always a sense that you still have to enjoy life no matter what's going on around you.
Of course. Would that be your key advice to future generations who are watching?
Be disciplined in what you do. Be respectful to others in what you do. Know what your beliefs are.
Of course.
You know what your values are. And don't let others take you outside your beliefs or outside your value. But always be respectful to others. And most of all, be respectful to yourself, you know, and enjoy life.
Of course, of course. Is there anything you feel that we haven't discussed or should be added to the interview?
Oh, no, I think
So we've touched on it.
we've touched on every little aspect of stuff that goes on.
I am okay. Yep. I'm so glad for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Is there, do you feel that based off of life after the military, do you feel as though it's misrepresented in the media and how it's contrary to the reality of the actual?
The reality of life in the military?
Yeah, like, is it contrary to how it's promoted in the media?
It depends on what area they're talking about within the media.
Okay, so it's varies.
Because it varies.
Okay.
You're talking about combat, then you don't want to show all the terrible things. And you're talking about an individual. There are some people, as I mentioned earlier, that will tell their story, the full detail of their story. And there's others who would only give you a short aspect of it.
Okay.
They won't give it to you. So the media sometimes covers stuff on a quasi mode, but
of course,
overall, you know, they give you what they think individual would like to hear.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for this time spent. It was really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
This is the conclusion of our interview. I would like to thank you so much, Petty Officer 2nd Class Walker. Thank you for taking your time to share your story for this Veterans History Project.
Thank you.